Welcome to Jaed English Center, where we teach English through true and powerful stories. Today's story isn't just about fear or survival. It's about confusion, identity, and a question that shocked an entire nation. This is the true story of a young woman named Patty Hearst, a girl who went from being a victim to something no one expected. It's a story that asks, what happens when your mind becomes a battlefield? And hey, this story should be heard by everyone, by a father and a mother, by a sister and a brother, in short, by all of us, because this might be the most educational story of your life. After all, education never ends, from the cradle to the grave. Let's begin. It was a quiet evening in February 1974 in Berkeley, California. The streets were calm, the lights of student apartments glowing faintly against the night. Inside one of those apartments lived Patty Hearst, a 19-year-old college student. She wasn't an ordinary girl. She was kind, intelligent, and full of dreams. But also, she carried a famous last name. Her grandfather was William Randolph Hearst, the powerful man behind one of America's biggest newspaper empires, the Hearst Corporation. But Patty didn't want fame. She just wanted a normal life, to study, to love, to laugh, and to find her own path. That night, she was sitting in her small apartment, reading for her classes, when suddenly, bang! A violent crash shattered the silence. The door flew open, and in the blink of an eye, her world turned into chaos. 3 masked people stormed into the room, shouting orders, holding guns. Patty froze. Before she could scream, they grabbed her by the arms, pulled a blindfold over her eyes, and dragged her outside. Her boyfriend tried to fight back, shouting, pushing, trying to protect her. But the attackers were brutal. They beat him to the ground and threw Patty into the trunk of a car. The car sped off into the darkness of the California night, leaving behind only broken glass and echoes of panic. Patty could barely breathe. The air in the trunk was cold and thin. She tried to scream, but her mouth was covered. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear nothing else. Every second felt like an hour. She didn't know where they were taking her, or if she would ever see her family again. Meanwhile, back in Berkeley, her kidnapping became breaking news. Within hours, TV stations across the country were reporting.
Patricia Hearst, granddaughter of newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst, has been kidnapped from her apartment.
The entire nation was shocked. How could someone from such a powerful, protected family simply disappear? Days later, a strange message reached the police. It was from the group that took her. They called themselves the Symbionese Liberation Army, or SLA. They claimed they were fighting for freedom and justice for all people. But their version of justice was violent and extreme. They wanted money, power, and attention, and they believed Patty Hearst was their ticket. For Patty, though, there was no freedom, only fear. She was kept in a dark closet, tied up, hungry, and alone. Every sound made her jump. She didn't know if they would kill her or use her for something worse. In those long, terrifying hours, she realized something. Her name, her money, her family. None of it could save her now. She was just a girl, trapped in the hands of people who wanted to use her for their own cause. It was the beginning of a nightmare that would soon shock the entire world and turn Patty Hearst from a victim into one of the most controversial figures in American history. Patty Hearst woke up in complete darkness. Her hands were tied, her mouth was dry. She didn't know if it was day or night. She only knew one thing. She was trapped. The small space she was locked in wasn't a room, it was a closet. No window, no light, no air, just a wooden door between her and the world. Every sound outside made her heart race. Sometimes she could hear footsteps, sometimes voices, loud, angry voices. Days passed, then weeks. She lost track of time. Her only connection to life was the sound of people shouting and planning something. Sometimes, someone would open the door and hand her food, cold, tasteless, and barely enough to survive. Other times, they would forget. She would lie there weak, her stomach twisting in hunger, her mind slowly fading. Her kidnappers called themselves the Symbionese Liberation Army, or SLA. They were young, wild, and angry at the world. They believed America was unfair, that rich people lived easy lives while the poor suffered. And to them, Patty wasn't just a girl anymore. She was a symbol of power, a way to make the rich listen. One day, one of them came to her and said,
"Your family doesn't care about you, Patty. They only care about money. We are the ones fighting for real justice."
Patty tried to fight back. She shouted, cried, begged to go home, but her voice didn't matter. They ignored her pain and used her words to send messages to the world. They gave her a tape recorder and forced her to speak. With shaking hands, she spoke into the microphone, her voice trembling.
"Mom, Dad, please do what they say. I'm scared. Please help me."
That tape was played on national radio. The whole country listened as the 19-year-old heir to a newspaper empire cried for her life. It was haunting. Every home, every news station, every newspaper, everyone was talking about Patty Hearst. Her parents were desperate. They offered millions in ransom. But the SLA refused. They didn't want money. They wanted her father to donate food to poor families. So he did. Thousands of boxes of food were delivered to hungry people across California. Cameras captured the chaos as crowds pushed and shouted to get something to eat. But even after all that, Patty was still not released. She was still in that dark room, forgotten, terrified, and slowly losing herself. And then, something strange began to happen. Weeks of isolation began to change her. Her thoughts became blurry. She started believing the things they told her.
"Your family doesn't love you. The world outside is evil. We are your new family now."
Sometimes, one of them would talk to her gently, bring her food, ask how she was. Other times, they screamed at her or threatened her life. This mix of fear and kindness confused her mind. She didn't know who to trust anymore. In that endless darkness, Patty Hearst, the bright college girl, began to disappear, and in her place, a different version of Patty was being born. One who no longer saw her kidnappers as enemies, but as the only people who could protect her. It was the beginning of something psychologists would later call Stockholm Syndrome. When a victim begins to feel sympathy, even loyalty, toward their captors. Patty's story was no longer just about kidnapping. It was about how fear can change the human mind. How even the strongest heart can break when it's kept in the dark too long. 2 months had passed since Patty Hearst was kidnapped. The world was shocked when news broke out from San Francisco. A bank had been robbed. But what made everyone gasp was who was seen in the security footage. It was a young woman with long brown hair. It was Patty Hearst herself. The girl who had been taken from her home and held captive was now standing with a gun alongside her kidnappers. People could not believe their eyes. How could a victim become a criminal? The media exploded with questions. Was she brainwashed? Was she acting out of fear? Or was she willingly helping them? Every newspaper, every TV channel carried her picture. Every person had an opinion. Inside, Patty felt trapped. Fear had taken over her mind. She knew that if she disobeyed her captors, her life could be at risk. Each day was filled with hiding, moving from one safe house to another, and trying to survive. Months passed in confusion and terror. Eventually, the FBI tracked her down. The day she was arrested, Patty was weak and silent. She didn't resist. She didn't explain. She just seemed lost, as if she were carrying the weight of everything that had happened to her. People on the streets whispered about her, some saying she had turned against her family, others saying she was still a victim of her kidnappers. The line between victim and criminal had blurred. Patty Hearst's story shocked the nation. Everyone wondered, could someone be forced to commit crimes against their will? Or had she really joined the group of her own choice? Her life, once ordinary, had now become a story that no one could forget.
In the courtroom, Patty Hearst looked nothing like the cheerful, smiling girl the world once knew. Her eyes seemed empty, her voice cold, and every movement spoke of the fear and confusion she had carried for months. People around the world were divided. Some were certain she was guilty of the crimes she had committed. Others believed she was a victim, trapped in a terrifying situation beyond her control. Experts later explained that Patty suffered from Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological condition where victims develop trust or even loyalty to their captors. Her actions, though shocking to the public, were influenced by fear, trauma, and survival instinct. Patty spent 2 years in prison, a period that tested her resilience and strength. When she was finally released, she tried to return to a life of normalcy. The media glare was intense and public opinion remained mixed, but she slowly learned to step away from the spotlight. Years later, the President of the United States pardoned her, giving her a chance to rebuild her life fully. Patty sought peace, away from cameras and judgment, working quietly to heal the wounds left by a traumatic chapter of her life. Her story became a reminder of the complex line between victimhood and crime, a tale of fear, survival, and ultimately the struggle to find inner peace after enduring unimaginable terror. Sometimes the deepest prisons are not made of walls, locks, or chains. They are built from fear, control, and confusion. Patty Hearst's story is a powerful reminder that even the strongest minds can be pushed to their limits. Circumstances, pressure, and trauma can make people act in ways that seem unimaginable to the outside world. Her life shows us that survival can sometimes mean making choices we don't fully understand at the moment. Real freedom is not just about escaping a physical prison. It begins when we find ourselves again, understand our own strength, and start to heal from the fear and pain that once held us captive. Patty's journey teaches us empathy, resilience, and the importance of looking deeper before judging someone's actions. It reminds us that every story has layers, and what we see on the surface may only be a small part of the truth. Thank you for watching Jaed English Center. If this story opened your eyes, made you think, or helped you learn new English words, please like, share, and subscribe. Every story here is more than just words. It teaches a lesson not only about life, but also about language. See you in the next video. Until then, remember, courage, understanding, and self-discovery are the keys to finding your true freedom. No matter how trapped you feel, there is always a way to rebuild and shine again.